Long before the rise of right sector in Ukraine was the birth of the British National Socialist movement in Britain, led by Colin Jordan.
There were a lot of angry people outside the registry office waiting for the wedding of British National Socialist leader Colin Jordan. He wants to convert us all to Hitlerism, presumably with himself in the role of the British Hitler. What a creed, in Coventry of all places. Here comes 40-year-old Jordan, probably relishing the trouble. His bride is Françoise Dior, a niece of the late King of Paris fashion. She is also very pro-Nazi, a marriage of true minds. Jordan signed the register and quietly prepared to face the crowd.
There was an aerial bombardment for the guests, not as bad as the Blitz, but enough to indicate the popularity of National Socialist leader Colin Jordan, British Nazi #1. His French bride, Françoise Dior, is reported to have said, "All I want is little Nazi children."
The Jordans left after a blood-mingling ceremony, when each nicked a finger, pressed them together, and let a spot fall on Hitler's Mein Kampf. The police arrested some anti-Nazis, and it was all over.
In August 1989, I met Ian Stewart Donaldson, the leader of Screwdriver and Blood and Honour UK, at the Nag's Head in Ena in Derbyshire. It's now a derelict building, unlike his movement, which has spread across the whole world. Ian Stewart was not what one would expect in a neo-Nazi leader. He was polite, calm for the most part, charming, and always had a good word to say about his followers. But alas, with Stewart and his Blood and Honour UK movement came the evil British movement and a confrontation with its regional leader, Gordon Rowland Jackson. Unbeknown to me at that time, he had been recruited by Derbyshire Police Special Branch as an undercover agent. After weeks of harassment at the hands of Gordon Jackson and his British movement thugs, the matter came to a head on the 20th of January 1990 at the Monday Arms Public House at Ilkeston in Derbyshire. Typically, for Jackson and his British movement thugs, they decided to subject me to an absolutely brutal gang attack to extract information from me about two sources who had given me information on why I should not join the British movement, and obviously I didn't. Prior to the attack, I had already agreed to join John Tyndall's British National Party and quickly became one of his protégés. I rose quickly through the ranks of the British National Party and in short order became the Midlands Elections Officer. For nearly 5 years, I attended multiple British National Party demonstrations and was involved in a string of street battles, some of them extremely serious, with left-wing demonstrators and riot police. In 1992, the British National Party formed Combat 18, ostensibly a stewarding unit to protect the party's meetings from attack by left-wing demonstrators, but in reality, Combat 18 quickly became an extremely fanatical gang of hardened street fighters. But there was intense rivalry within all far-right organisations, and in September 1992, Charlie Sargent ordered his men and the BNP casuals to stand back as Blood and Honour UK and its European supporters took an almighty battering at the hands of Red Action and anti-fascist action around Waterloo Station in London. Charlie Sargent had his eyes on revenue from Blood and Honour concerts.
Outside the station, more ugly clashes took place as the police tried to separate the rival groups. The media can get to the scene of the trouble with increasing speed in their attempt to provide the public with vivid and immediate information. On occasion, TV crews can become the target of the mob's hostility.
Within weeks, Combat 18 and the BNP casuals confronted Red Action and Anti-Fascist Action in East London in November 1992 and inflicted a heavy defeat on the left-wing demonstrators. By the following year, this led to the Battle of Welling.
After demonstrators clashed with police at a march against racism in South London. 12 other officers and 41 members of the public were also taken to hospital after being pelted with bricks, bottles and sticks. 6 petrol bombs were seized from one of the protesters. Anti-racist protesters had wanted to march past the headquarters of the British National Party in Welling, but police created an exclusion zone to keep them away. Violence broke out as some marchers tried to break through the police cordon.
The march had gone off largely peacefully until it reached a suburban road leading to the BNP bookshop 3/4 of a mile away. A section of the demonstrators surged forward in an attempt to breach the police lines and gain access to Welling and the BNP. Riot police reinforcements moved in to hold the line. Within minutes it turned into an ugly and violent confrontation. But despite police charges, the minority of rioters at the front held their ground. Mounted officers were deployed as the crossroads became virtually a battlefield. Stewards attempted to restore order. Some marchers tried to sit down protest, but it was soon abandoned in the melee. Marchers at the back of the demonstration were stationary, unaware of what was happening at the front, where someone threw a smoke bomb. A police officer quickly picked it up and threw it into a nearby garden. On the other side of the crossroads, some demonstrators brazenly taunted the police. Then the confrontation settled into a pattern of police charges into the crowd, which were followed by tactical retreats. Police sustained injuries, so too did the marchers, a number of whom were also arrested. Some rioters wore masks and balaclavas to avoid identification. Others at the back of the march just gave up, turned round and went home. 2 hours after the fighting had begun, the marchers finally began heading to a playing field for a rally. An angry police commander showed one of the bricks thrown at his officers. He said the riot proved police were right to reroute the march.
That if this march had been allowed to go past the bookshop, you can see what would have happened in the far more confined spaces.
Mounted police regrouped as the marchers made their way to the rally. Even here, the rioting continued in suburban front gardens as police and side streets were pelted. As the rally wound up, more officers were deployed, though by this stage the disturbances were fizzling out and it became a watching brief as the demonstrators boarded buses for home. John Draper, ITN, South London.
Metropolitan Police Commissioner Paul Condon said tonight the violence had been carefully planned by a sizable minority intent on causing trouble. He said the hypocrisy of the organisers knew no bounds. 11 people have been arrested. More are likely to follow.
They must have known and anticipated exactly what would happen today, and they provided the opportunity for it to happen. And again in London, we've seen a cowardly mob of extremists who turn up with no intention of demonstrating against a cause, but they turn up to cause disorder and violence and damage, and that's what they attempted to do today.
Just a month before the Battle of Welling, Ian Stewart Donaldson, leader of Blood and Honour UK, was killed in a shady car accident on the A52 in Derbyshire, but he had by then already laid the roots of an international movement that had spread across the whole of Europe.
Would you like to see immigration banned?
Yeah, completely. And then repatriation started.
You want immigrants who are here to go home?
Yeah, certainly.
You're proud to be a Nazi?
Yeah, I am, definitely, yeah.
And spreading the word?
Yep, I hope to do it for a long time.
After Ian Stewart's death, the British far right went into a period of infighting. Combat 18 split with the British National Party and quickly found itself in league with Blood and Honour UK, becoming its official armed wing. In the wake of Ian Stewart's death, many people believed Blood and Honour UK would simply collapse and disintegrate, but the power vacuum was quickly filled by his second lieutenant, Alistair Benny Bullman. In January 1995, I quit the British National Party, disgusted with far-right extremism and street violence. By late 1995, Blood and Honour had spread across the whole of Europe and was particularly strong in Eastern Germany and other Eastern European countries. With Blood and Honour firmly established across Europe and the United States, Alistair Bullman made the fateful decision to take his organisation to Kiev in the Ukraine in October 2001, This in turn, some years later, led to the creation of Right Sector from Blood and Honor Ukraine Division. In 2011, news began to emerge that German police officers and intelligence agents had been conspiring with neo-Nazis in the National Socialist underground and concealed a number of murders of high-profile targets and political opponents. After a wave of murders in the country, in 2012 Russia decided to ban Blood and Honor and Combat 18, and in turn Right Sector also became a banned organisation for sponsoring terrorism. With neo-Nazism spreading across Eastern Europe like a plague, the reckless United States government decided to throw fuel on the flames by giving $5 billion to Ukrainian radicals to carry out regime change, which in turn led to the Maidan Revolution.
Since Ukraine's independence in 1991, the United States has supported Ukrainians as they build democratic skills and institutions, as they promote civic participation and good governance, all of which are preconditions for Ukraine to achieve its European aspirations. We've invested over $5 billion to assist Ukraine in these and other goals that will ensure a secure and prosperous and democratic Ukraine.
Blood and Honor is everywhere across Europe. It is even influential with the Golden Dawn Party in Greece. And wherever you find Blood and Honor, you find murder, racism, and terrorism. After the Maidan Revolution, the neo-Nazis went on the rampage across Ukraine, leading to the Odessa massacre. At Mariupol, over 100 people were shot dead. In the ensuing months, the neo-Nazis formed dozens of Spets battalions or volunteer battalions to fight against the breakaway republics of Luhansk and Donetsk. Murder followed in their wake.
Що, сука, світиш, блядь? Паду по дітей, козли, блядь, йо. Давай.
С твоей стороны ничего не просматривается. Зеленка ничего не видит. Постреляй. Постреляй. Второй этаж. На втором этаже штабера работают. Иди сюда. Леха, тихо. Слава, иди сюда. Иди сюда. Восьмой. Что там, отойди. Ты не видишь, где они.
Снайпер работает. С какой стороны? Справа. Работайте, ты пидор.
Ахмед! Вставайся!
Сука, ніч була вже закріпився. Зараз попробують вибор нахуй. Ми ще там такі наривали.
The Misanthropic Division, firmly entrenched across Europe, particularly in Eastern European states, a massive neo-Nazi riot broke out in Warsaw in November 2014. Across the border in Ukraine, right sector rallies are almost identical to those held by Hitler and the Nazi Party at Munich.
Слава Україні! Слава українським героям, які полягли в битві за свободу, справедливість і добробут нашої батьківщини, нашої України. Слава! брати і сестри, ситуація важка. Знову, як вже неодноразово, влада зайнялась окозамилюванням. Ті домовленості, які досягнуті, не відповідають нашим з вами прагненням. Правий сектор не складе зброї. Правий сектор не зніме блокаду жодної з державних установ, поки не буде виконана найголовніша наша вимога – відставка Януковича. Друзі і подруги, я наголошую на тому, всі винні – Захарченко, командири Беркута, ті, хто віддавав наказ, снайпера, мають бути заарештовані. Правий сектор виступав і виступає за єдність повстанського руху. Правий сектор закликає всі суб'єкти Майдану до продовження спільної боротьби проти режиму внутрішньої окупації. Ми готові взяти відповідальність за подальше розгортання української революції на себе. Слава Україні! Дякую, друзі!
Wherever you find neo-Nazis, you will find the horror of war. Extremism. Senseless slaughter. Innocent civilians butchered. Young men wasting their lives. They are an international movement. Bloodshed is their agenda. The Nazis are back with a vengeance to take care of unfinished business left unresolved from World War II. National Socialism did not die in the ruins of Berlin. It merely went underground, only to resurface in Britain in the late 1950s. Dmytro Yarosh is now threatening to execute the president of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, and is holding the entire country to ransom with his neo-Nazi volunteer battalions. Power is his ultimate objective.
Right Sector Nationalist Movement has promised to execute Poroshenko and his associates in case of another revolution in Ukraine, the Voice of America said. According to Press Secretary of the battalion, Artyom Skoropadsky, his organization is not calling for a coup, but it is inevitable should the government turn a deaf ear to the requests of the battalion and the population. According to him, Poroshenko will not be able to escape from the country as the previous president did. he'll be executed in a dark dungeon by a group of young Ukrainian military and members of the National Guard.
In Mein Kampf, Hitler wrote, "If we cannot conquer, we will drag the whole world down with us."